Are you ready to level up from that girl to that woman? Your 30s are the perfect time for a transformation that goes beyond just looks. It's about truly feeling confident, feeling empowered, and embracing exactly who you are. I truly feel that in my 30s, I am so much better than I ever was in my 20s in all regards, in my physical health, in my physical appearance, my mental health, my emotional health. And all of these were able to happen because of both mindset shifts and also physical shifts. And today we're going to get into all the changes that I've made in my personal life that helped me transform from this girl that you see here in her 20s to the woman that I am today. And before we get into the 7 tips that help me create the ultimate glow up, I just want to preface that glowing up is not something that is going to just come to you. It's not going to be easy. It's something that you're going to need to commit yourself to, put the time and effort and energy into it, because if you want to glow up, it's not just going to show up at your doorstep. You're going to need to create some habits and routines, which I'll get into, that will get you from point A to point B. So if you really are serious about glowing up, you need to commit yourself to doing so. Otherwise, you're just going to watch a bunch of these glow up videos and nothing's going to change in your life. That's the harsh truth. I don't mean to be so mean about it. It's something that I also had to come to realize. If you don't change anything, then nothing's going to change. That's just pretty standard and simple. If you're really committed, after you watch this, the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to actually implement this in your life and to take the actions that will get you from point A to point B and to create your ultimate glow up. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the 7 tips that I have for your ultimate glow up guide. And as always, feel free to leave in the comments anything that you find helpful. Share with the community your thoughts, and also if there's any topic that you want for me to go deeper on, please write that in the comments and I'll be sure to make a video next time. First tip of creating the ultimate glow up in your 30s is focusing on your physical appearance and physical health. By focusing on your physical health, you're just naturally gonna look better because you're taking care of your body and its needs. The first thing I like to do is set some healthy habits. One of my biggest pain points has always been drinking water. I've always struggled to drink water, so I decided to do something that will make water more enjoyable. So every morning I start the day by drinking lemon water. Hydration is really key, and it's something that is so simple, and because it's so simple, a lot of us don't actually make sure we get enough water. So something that I like to do is start off the morning on the right foot. Instead of drinking coffee or tea right away, which is something that I used to do, I now make sure to drink a glass of lemon water or even salt in water, for the electrolytes, or just plain water, at least a cup before I drink my coffee or tea. And the next important thing about taking care of your health and your physical appearance is making sure that you are moving your body. So there's so many different ways we can keep our body in movement, either by working out, playing a sport, taking a class, or simply just walking your dog. This is something that I've made more accessible in my life by seeing what is easy for me to do. So I hate running, but I need to get cardio. So what I like to do is I try to get 10,000 steps, either by walking to work, because I live in the city, so it's easy for me to do that, but understandable if you don't live in the city. Maybe if you have a dog, you can go on a longer walk with your dog. Another aspect that has helped me glow up is by prioritizing my physical strength. So I started really seriously weightlifting instead of just doing, random classes here and there and not really being committed to a certain workout regimen. And once I established a lifting routine, a routine where I lifted weights consistently every week, at least 2 or 3 times a week, that's when I really saw changes in my physical appearance. I saw that my waist shrank, my face got slimmer, and I was also making healthier choices with my food. I was eating more protein, less refined carbs, and less sugar. So for me, that has been a game changer. Of course, everyone's body is different. So if weight training is not in the cards for you for whatever reason, maybe a health reason, or maybe you just don't know, so you don't know where to start, I would say just do something that is accessible to you that you know you can commit to for the long term. Another aspect about physical health that really helped me improve myself and improve all aspects of my life was prioritizing sleep and making sure I was getting quality sleep. So before, I used to, scroll Instagram or TikTok before bed, and I didn't think that would really do anything to my sleep, but it definitely disrupted my sleep. And there's multiple studies that show that, before bed, if you're consuming content or you have a bright screen in front of your face, the quality of sleep that you're going to get is much lower than if you just maybe read a book or meditated or just sat in bed and listened to some music instead of scrolling. So prioritizing your sleep health is definitely key, and it's something that you can change quite easily. And the last thing in this category is making sure you are eating a healthy, balanced diet that is also nutritious. So I used to, I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to be skinny. And instead of eating right, I would just not eat a lot. But then the foods that I were eating were like muffins, croissants. But I'm like, if I eat just a muffin or a croissant and then I have a salad, then that should be fine. No. You're better off eating a healthy, balanced diet with protein and complex carbs, fiber, instead of just like opting for a muffin and that's all you're going to eat and iced coffee. Your body can't sustain you like that, and it's not going to give you the nutrients it needs to make sure that your hormones are balanced and to make sure that you have the energy and the fuel to maintain your muscle mass and to go on the workouts that I mentioned before. Because if you don't feed your body, then your body's not going to be able to give you the energy source that you need. So when I took all of these seriously, and of course I didn't do it all at the same time, I did it gradually, and each habit built upon the next one, I was really able to see some amazing changes. Like my face used to be really puffy and round, and since being mindful of what I'm eating a healthy diet and working out and being consistent with it, I've seen dramatic changes in my face structure. I was able to see some definition in my jawline, as well as a more defined waist and more toned body instead of being skinny fat. And I know some of you might think that these are superficial things, but they're not superficial, because when you look better, you feel better. And why wouldn't you want to take care of your physical health? It's the first thing that is the most important thing, because if you don't have a good, clean bill of physical health, you're not going to be able to do much. Like your mental capacity is going to be impacted, your emotional health is going to be impacted. So before we get into anything else, the first thing that you should focus on is your physical health and your physical appearance. By focusing on your physical health, naturally your physical appearance is going to be better, and you're just going to have to trust me on this. So this is the first thing that I want you guys to focus on. The second tip for your ultimate glow up is investing in your physical appearance. And what I mean by that is investing in good skincare products and investing in good quality clothing, and making sure you find clothing and garments that really fit you and fit your body type. I feel like so many people underestimate the value and the importance of how a first impression can be. And what you don't realize is that every day you are making an impression on someone, whether you're walking down the street, whether you're going to work or at work, or you're going on a first date, or you're meeting up with friends. You're always making an impression by the choices of how you present yourself and your physical appearance. So are you taking the time to take care of your skin, or do you just wash your face and call it a day? These things show, and they're more apparent when you're not in your 20s, because in your 20s you can kind of get away with things, but when you're in your 30s, you really need to invest in some quality items that are going to make your appearance stand out even more. And one of the things that I definitely invested in a lot more in my 30s is good skincare. In my 20s, I used to be kind of nonchalant about it. I'll put some serums on here and there, but I was never really consistent with it. But in my 30s, I've been consistent about, one, taking my makeup off before bed, which I don't know why I didn't do that before anyways, but I know a lot of you girlies still struggle with this. So do yourself a favor and just get some makeup removers. If you don't have time to wash your face before bed, at least just use a makeup remover to remove your makeup. And second would be to always wear sunscreen. I never was like a believer of sunscreen, and until I started getting like age spots and like other dark spots on my face, and I was like, what is going on? And then my friend was like, obviously because you're not wearing sunscreen. So I cannot stress the importance of sunscreen. If you don't have a lot to spend on skincare, I would say at the least just get a good sunscreen lotion for your face. There's a bunch of different ones. Actually, the one that I use is, I think, just a drugstore brand. So it's under $15. I'll link it in the description below so you have access to the same one. And the other thing I want to stress about the physical appearance aspect of buying clothes is that you want to make sure that the items that you buy, first of all, that they flatter your body. So a big mistake that I used to make in my 20s and my late 20s was buying things that were too small. It could be like a workout outfit or jeans or something, and because I wanted to be considered a certain size, I would buy something that would be a little bit on the tighter side, and boy, like it was not flattering. When you wear something that isn't truly your size, whether it be a bra, which is something that many women don't actually know their correct bra size, or if you're wearing pants that are too tight or a top that's too tight, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, and when you feel uncomfortable, you're gonna exude non-confidence. And that was something that I didn't realize, that I was just like forcing myself to squeeze into things when I should just have bought the correct size. And another aspect of this is I used to only buy like kind of super trendy items that maybe the quality wasn't the best because it was, cheaper to buy. But now I truly invest in some staple pieces that are of good quality. So instead of buying a bunch of items that you're going to throw away, I've learned to appreciate and invest in some core pieces that I know are going to last me longer. And this also helps create your own personal style and brand. And that's something that I feel like is pretty important as we get older, that we establish, who we are, that our identity can be conveyed through what we wear. So I definitely want to stress the importance of investing in some quality pieces instead of just buying a bunch of kind of garbage. This is really going to elevate your look and elevate how others perceive you. Third tip for the ultimate glow up is to learn how to say no and to set some healthy boundaries. If you're like me and you've been a people pleaser for most or all of your life, you know how hard it is to say no to people. You just don't want to upset anyone, and maybe part of you just wants to be loved and accepted. So you've learned from a young age that by saying yes and being agreeable, that you're more likely to be liked and more likely to not be left behind or abandoned. And this is something that I struggled with all up until my early 30s, and just coming to terms with it and understanding that this is a pattern that I have. The importance of why saying no, obviously you shouldn't say no to everything, right? You still have to say yes to things that you really want to say yes to. But when you say yes to everything, you're really giving away your power and your time and your energy, and not everyone is deserving of that. I'm gonna go out there on a limb and say most people aren't deserving of that. You really need to develop that muscle to say no. I think when I was younger, I just didn't realize that certain people were kind of energy vampires or are toxic. I just always kept giving them the benefit of the doubt. And this could be friendships, this could be romantic relationships, and this could also be work relationships. If anything is not working out, or you sense that there's some kind of like negativity, or that someone's always trying to take advantage of you and they're always taking from you and not giving, then you really need to let go of these situations. By really holding on to them, you're just kind of chipping away at yourself, and it can be hard for us people who are innate people pleasers or empaths, whatever you want to call it, to really see the effects of it. But for me, I didn't realize it until one of my last relationships, that I had essentially lost myself because I wanted to give to that person and I wanted that person to love me. And by doing so, I just gave up all of my interests and devoted all my time into him. And it was only after leaving that relationship did I realize how much of myself that I lost. And that was when I told myself that I was never, ever going to put myself in that situation, either romantically or with friends or in a work situation. And by doing that, I was able to learn how to stand up for myself and to set some healthy boundaries, which is crazy, like mind-blowing. Like, why? some people that just comes to them naturally, but I feel like for a lot of women especially, we just have a hard time setting boundaries. And let me tell you, when you learn to say no and set boundaries, you just feel so much better, like in your body. You're not feeling anxious all the time. You're not feeling upset or resentment because you said yes to something and what you really want to do was to stay home with your dog. Learn that skill. Learn to say no. Learn to be okay with people potentially being upset at you. And here's another thing. If someone, whether this be a friend, a family, or whoever, is upset for you expressing that you're not interested in something or that something is not for you, like for example, you decided that you stopped drinking as much and your friends are like, oh, why aren't you drinking anymore? Like, you're so boring, you're so blah. Those are not people that you want to be around. Those are not people who you're going to grow with. So it's up to you, but you can either decide to move separate ways now or later. As you go on your glow up journey, when you're consistent with taking care of your physical health and your physical appearance by probably making some different lifestyle choices, you're probably going to lose some friends who are not trying to do the same. And by focusing on your glow up and focusing on your physical health, you're probably going to make some lifestyle changes that sometimes might rub people the wrong way. And what I mean by that is just because you're on your journey of improving yourself and being the best version of yourself, some of your friends don't feel that way and they're going to try to hold you back and hold you down. So it's really up to you to determine who those people are and to set those boundaries. I'm not saying you should cut everyone off and just ghost all of your friends and family, but definitely be aware of the energies that are around you, which ones are going to uplift you and which ones are going to take away from you or make you feel bad for prioritizing yourself. The fourth thing I want to cover on for your ultimate glow up is continual learning and facing your fears. I've always been someone who was afraid of a lot of things that I didn't know or wasn't experienced at, one of them being public speaking. I've always been afraid of being in front of a camera or giving a speech in front of people, and that fear really held me back. And for a long time in my 20s and even my early 30s, I would just avoid that altogether. Until recently, I learned to actually embrace my fears and kind of approach them head on, because that's the only way that you're going to improve and grow in life. And in a similar vein, just learning new skill sets, continuing to have a curious mind and to continue learning in whatever manner or whatever that looks like to you. You could maybe want to pick up a new hobby. Maybe you want to try pottery or try a new workout class or try boxing, or maybe you want to enroll back in school to learn an important skill set or enhance some aspect of your career. It could be really anything. It could be as simple as just picking up a book and reading a book every week or listening to a podcast. The important thing is to always continue learning, because when you stop learning about things and when you stop using your brain, that's when you get stagnant and you get comfortable. And there's also multiple different scientific sources that talk about neuroplasticity and how important it is, especially as you get older, to develop the habits that are going to keep your brain in a healthy state. Besides that, continual learning for yourself and for your own benefit is going to make you that much better of a person in terms of in your career, in your relationships. It's going to make you more interesting. It's going to make you more driven, and you're always going to try to be the best version of yourself. So you're probably not going to be obsessing about whether or not someone texted you back or anything. You're prioritizing yourself. This is an element of you prioritizing yourself. So whatever you need to do to keep on learning, that's number 4. The fifth thing that I want to touch upon for your ultimate glow up is learning to give yourself self-love and self-compassion. If you're like me, someone who has always been really driven and motivated and kind of tends to be hard on themselves, you know how difficult it can be to really just love yourself. I always had a tendency to be so critical of myself, and by being critical on myself, I always created stressful environments that actually manifested into having really bad anxiety and panic attacks. And once I dealt with that, I learned that, first of all, evaluate why you're being so hard on yourself. Is it because you feel insecure about something, or is it because you feel pressure from society? When you focus on yourself and you focus on your own well-being and just giving yourself the ultimate love and ultimate approval, you're really allowing your body to feel at home and at peace. When you give yourself the love, compassion, and self-validation instead of seeking it from an external source, that is where the ultimate glow up really happens, because you're not giving your power away to anyone. Your power is within you. And when you realize just how much strength you have and just how much love you have for yourself, that's the mindset shift that's going to take you from point A to point B. So some helpful things that I like to do is taking myself out on solo dates, spending time with myself, not listening to any music or anything, just letting myself hear my thoughts. It could be just meditating or going for a walk without any crazy distractions, or taking yourself out for dinner or taking yourself out to the movies. Just doing something where it's just you and yourself, where you feel and cultivate this feeling of like, yeah, I can be comfortable with myself and I'm going to do the things that I love to do, and I'm going to give myself the things that I need instead of waiting for someone, whether it be a knight or knightess in shining armor, to come and save me. I'm going to save myself, and I'm going to be the person who I would like to show up for me. And when you spend time with yourself and you really get to know yourself, not only are you able to really give yourself the love and acceptance that only you can give to yourself, but you're also going to have more clarity on like what really is important to you. So for example, for a lot of women in their 30s, there's a lot of societal standards that we feel like we need to achieve, like we need to get married at a certain age, we need to have kids by a certain age, or we need to have this aspect in our career by a certain age. And I feel like once you really spend time with yourself and get to know yourself, then you know what your priorities are, instead of being swayed by either society or your family or what your friends are doing. And once you're really able to do that, then you're going to feel really at peace with yourself. And that to me is the ultimate glow up. And the sixth tip is learning the art of manifestation instead of trying to control everything. I, like many of you, used to be a control freak in terms of, not like a neat freak, but like a control freak. I needed to make sure everything was aligned, and I needed to make sure that things were going to happen at X, Y, and Z. And if it didn't, then I would get really anxious or I would get really upset. It was exhausting because it felt like I was working against the grain, and I didn't really understand or even know what manifestation was. Once I understood that and understood that you can try to force things and make things happen, but it's just going to take you a whole lot longer to get there, and it's going to be a whole lot more stressful to get there. So ever since I learned manifestation, it's been really like a mental break for myself. Instead of obsessing over things and trying to force things, I finally learned to let go of the outcome and to kind of detach from the outcome. And so once I learned what it really means to manifest, I was really able to let go of my expectations and let go of the outcomes and detach from how I expected things to occur. And when I learned to do that, it was like the ultimate mindset shift. And this is something that is not going to be easy to do because it involves a lot of trust and a lot of faith. Elements of like spirituality as well, or if you're religious. This to me was the biggest discovery because it really helped with my anxious monkey mind, the part of me that wanted to force things and the part of me that was trying to control things. And this was especially noticeable in relationships. You meet someone and you're with someone and you expect to have certain things at a certain timeline. Like maybe you expect to be married within a year, especially if you're in your 30s and you have these societal standards or your parental standards that you're trying to appease, that you force these things. And by forcing it, usually it doesn't, the outcome isn't what you expected or desired. And oftentimes when you force things, you also miss red flags along the way. So by really learning how to kind of trust in the universe and trust in the process of life instead of making sure that person likes me back and texts me and is always going to be there and never is going to leave me, that creates a lot of stress and it creates a lot of anxiety. And more often than not, it's going to create the exact fear that you don't want to happen is going to happen. So what I like to do is I like to maintain a daily practice of both gratitude and just writing down kind of what I would like in my future and just trusting that the universe is going to give it to me. But of course, also taking actions towards those goals, but not expecting a crazy outcome. You know, you can work towards something and not expect things to go your way. And when you really do that, then that's where you're going to feel oftentimes the most creative and oftentimes, at peace with what you're doing. And you can really enjoy yourself in whatever you're doing instead of focusing on how it's going to turn out. So my tip for you for that is to write in a gratitude journal and to make a manifestation vision board. And actually I have a previous video, which I'll link in the description box below, of the ultimate guide for manifestation that will teach you the basics of manifestation as well as go into detail of how to manifest correctly. So check that out if you want to explore this step a bit further. Last but not certainly least is number 7 is going to be establishing healthy habits and routines. And I know that sounds maybe boring and unromantic, but really it's these habits and routines that are really going to get you that ultimate glow up. Because if you did any of the previous 6 steps for just 1 week, you're not going to see any changes. You're not going to see really even like a 1% change. These changes didn't happen overnight. This wasn't like a miracle drug that you just popped in your mouth and called it a day and the next day you woke up a different person. No, you're going to need to understand that who you want to be is going to take some time to develop into. That shouldn't kind of deter you from this process. It should make you more excited that you're able to develop these habits and build a routine that's going to support you in the best version of yourself. What I like to do is I like to start with small habits and easy habits first. So for example, for point number 1, taking care of your physical health, drinking a glass of water first thing when you wake up is not a hard thing to do. So that can be where you start, right? You don't have to be eating kale salads every day and making your dinners and lunches because that's a hard step. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves when we go on any journey of self-improvement. We want to take small incremental steps that are easy and accessible for us so we don't kind of go into overdrive and start freaking out that, oh my God, we didn't do this and we didn't do that. My bad. Fudge it. We're just going to sit on the couch and watch TV because I'm just overwhelmed. Don't want to reach a point where we get into that kind of anxiety level. So what I like to do is, again, start with the small habits. And I mentioned this before in a previous video, but reading Atomic Habits really helps. And really the author, James Clear, really just talks about building small habits and stacking those small habits. So if you haven't read that book already, please do check it out. I'll leave that also in the description box below. And they say it takes 30 days for a habit to develop into something that is consistent. So again, I just want to stress that this isn't a glow up quick scheme. Okay, so we're not trying to just glow up overnight. Glowing up is going to take some time and it's going to take some dedication. So the easiest way is to really build the habits, build a foundation that's going to keep you not just doing this for a few weeks, a few months, a few years, but really for the rest of your life. Because I don't just want to be glowing up in my 30s. I want to be glowing up every year. I want to be glowing up every decade that I am in because I want to be the best version of myself at any age. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that this is a journey. It's not going to be easy. And I don't want to say this to discourage you, but I just want to give you the real facts that you have it within you to make these changes, but don't be discouraged if you don't see any immediate results right away. Just be consistent and trust in the process and enjoy yourself along the way. This is the journey of life, and how amazing is it that we get to experience it and go through it. There you have it. Those are my 7 top tips for how I created the ultimate glow up for myself from my late 20s to my 30s. And it really is never too late to glow up at any age. If you're in your 20s, it's never too early to have a glow up either. It's never too late if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, It's never too late to glow up at any age, whether you're in your 20s, it's never too early to glow up, or if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s or above. It's never too late to have your ultimate glow up. And as always, if you found this video to be helpful, please help the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and hitting that bell button for notifications on future videos. And as always, please feel free to share in the comments below any thoughts that you have and maybe other tips that you have for yourself that's worked for you, or anything in the video that was discussed that you want a more in-depth video on. Please share with me so I can take that feedback and make some more videos for you guys. And thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. And if you found this video to be helpful in any way or insightful, please help this channel by hitting that like button and subscribe, and also turning on the bell notification for future videos. And as always, feel free to share in the comments below. Tell me what you thought was the most helpful, or if there is any topic that you want me to go more in depth in. I will definitely take that into consideration. I read all of your comments and I take all feedback into consideration. And if there's anything that you want to hear more about, please do share and I will make a video on that. And yeah, thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.